Put your love glasses on. I see you looking like you wanna dance, and I'm watching, wondering why you don't take a chance. Just go ahead, take his hand. What you scared of, man? What you scared of?
Look, I got all the glasses too. I got these glasses. I got these glasses. I got some more glasses over there. I want to make sure I can see the badass women that's on here. What's up, T? What's up? How are y'all doing? How are y'all doing? All right, so you are in the insiders vault, which means no holds barred, giving up all the secrets, dishing all the good stuff that people normally pay good money for. We're going to share today. My name is Donna St. Louis, and you are a badass high achiever. You are a go-getter. You're a person who's getting it done. Everyone leans on you. Everyone. That party, that holiday party, that family get together, all that stuff does not happen. That stuff at work, oh my God. What happened if you went on vacation? Girl, you come back and your desk is full, and things fell completely apart. And here's the thing. That's why when you go on vacation, you feel guilty. If you miss one thing for that family outing, you feel bad because it's not about what they're saying on the outside. It's about what you feel on the inside, here and here. And so what you try to do is to feel fulfilled. You chase more achievements, right? You are more achievements at work, more achievement in activities, more giving of yourself. And it never seems to be enough. And the advice, everybody seems to want to give you advice on how you could be better, while at the same time having a hand open for something else that they want from you.
Oh boy.
Why? Because you are the high achiever. You have set the standard. You are the gold standard. And as a result, you're sitting here thinking, because I'm doing all of this, I should feel fulfilled. And for the most part, as long as you're busy, you think you are fulfilled. But then the truth comes into play when you are sitting alone for that weekend, for that week, for that month, when you have to literally sit by yourself for an extended period of time and come up with something to do other than sit on a couch and watch Netflix and eat Chunky Monkey and popcorn. And if it keeps up, the emotional distress, the emptiness is going to continue. You could be surrounded by 1,000 people and feel completely disconnected. Or like, God, I really should be doing something. I know for me, I have 100% been the person who has sat there and felt like, I'm just sitting here. I feel like I should be doing something. And I mean, it'll be a Sunday. I've worked all week. And on Sunday, just because the house is clean, the work is done, the dog is walked, everything, the plants are watered, everything is good. And I'll still feel like I should be doing something. Maybe I should work. And I have been known to go and run to my computer on Sunday because I would feel guilty sitting down and binge watching something else on Netflix, right? So it's a real thing for high achieving women, being a high achieving woman. I absolutely recognize the fact when we were doing this episode, I explained to Felicia and Teresa that I felt attacked. So, but today they're going to tell you that they're actually not in attack mode. And we're going to talk about how you can feel fulfilled. And I'm going to be open and vulnerable because I'm probably the person who identifies as their client, as their person. And yes, I've worked with stuff. So don't be sending me your therapy. I got therapists. But all right, don't stop. We're going to talk about it. So let's get started by starting with our introductions of our amazing, beautiful women. Teresa Noy, I'm going to have you kick it off and then go right down to Felicia.
All right.
Yes, I am Teresa Noy, your radical self-love coach, and I work with high achieving women who typically put themselves last to love themselves enough now to put themselves first.
That's beautiful. You are a radical self-love coach. She radical.
Yes, she is.
She's going to tell you to do some stuff for real. All right. And then of course, Felicia.
Hey, courageous woman. I am Felicia Roberts, and I'm a dating readiness coach. And I work with high achieving women to reclaim their social life. And so they can start rediscovering the joy of just getting back outside without feeling like you got to get married. You ain't quite ready for that yet. You just want to hang
Right.
out and enjoy life.
Right, because quite honestly, if I go outside where ain't nobody at, so I don't have to get married. I think that's my trick. And turns out you're like, no, ma'am. No. Going hiking on a secluded trail by yourself with your dog does not count as going outside with people. Who would have thought that? That's crazy. And of course, my name is Donna St. Louis. I am the co-founder of Fire Savvy. And if y'all want to know what Fire Savvy is, really go to firesavvy.net because the new website is fire. And the one thing that I am the most excited about is that on our brand new sexy website, all those beautiful pictures that you see there on that website, I'm actually going to it just so I can see my damn self ooze a bit. So all those beautiful pictures that you see on that website, none of those are stock photos. Those are us. Those are our clients. And damn, everybody is beautiful. But what do? We are your business advisory and coaching powerhouse for professional service providers, coaches, consultants, and expert entrepreneurs who are focused on fast tracking their revenue growth, right? So our mission is to make sure that you can actually shatter that revenue ceiling because we're all going to run into one. 100,000, 250,000, half million, million. There's always a revenue ceiling. And what you got you here ain't going to get you there. And so we help you shatter that through tailor-made strategies for making irresistible offers, pinpointing those qualified buyers who want those offers, and then giving you the sales skills to skyrocket conversion. So that's what I do. But that's not what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about is these two here choosing violence against me today. All right. So the one thing I hear both of you, I'm seriously just violence, right? So the one thing I hear both of you talk about quite often is making sure that you set up healthy boundaries. Now, I will tell you straight up that if you would have come to me and you would have said, you have to set up boundaries, I would say, I do have boundaries because let somebody talk to my kids any kind of way. Let somebody go after my co-founder. Let somebody try X, Y, and Z. I have boundaries.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you was like, those are lovely. Those are lovely. Both of y'all gave me that. That's not.
Mm-hmm.
Those aren't boundaries. So let's talk about it. Jump in.
Well, I'll jump in. I know for, the women that I work with, we talk about boundaries around not being desperate, right? Because when you are learning how to get back on any kind of social scene, right? And homeboy over in the corner standing there, he may have looked at you 1 second too long. And you're like, uh-oh, I think he's gonna come over here, right? So thinking about how you set up boundaries with you don't need to be desperate. How do you be in a social space without all the tension and expectations that something has to happen, right? And so that's real important for women, I think, as they're setting up boundaries.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
We talk about boundaries in terms of most of the time we're over accommodating everyone else's needs and under accommodating our needs, right? And so it's so important to put boundaries around the things that you really don't want to do, but you're doing it because out of obligation, out of duty, out of how you're going to be perceived, how it's going to impact your reputation, right? So you say yes to all of these things when really you don't want to do it. So It's important to put those boundaries around only doing the things that bring you joy and everything else, let go.
So let's talk about that for a little bit in regards to boundaries, because if we're talking about high achieving women and, again, we are the women that are there for everyone else, right? If we're on vacation, our phone has to be turned on and ready, right? Our parents, our significant others, our children, our clients have to be able to get us even when we go on vacation because their emergency is more important than our vacation. And when we don't answer or we get back and something has gone wrong, we feel guilty because number one, we feel like we did not prepare them for that moment enough. So that was our responsibility. We definitely feel that is our responsibility, right? And number two, second thing goes, if I was there, if I wasn't on vacation, I could have handled that and that wouldn't have happened, right?
Mm.
So how do we set up boundaries without feeling guilty? And what is the benefit to others when we do set up boundaries?
That's good.
Mhm.
I'll jump in.
Yeah.
I think you have to really understand how we've been conditioned,
Mm.
how we've been socialized, particularly as women.
Okay, again, she gonna. So I just want y'all to know she about to go on the attack. But that's okay. Go ahead.
No,
I'm here for it.
it's just real. Let's keep it real, right? We've been conditioned that it's our duty and it's our role to care for and to nurture the family, to nurture the community, to hold everybody else up without needing care in return.
Mm.
So as a result, we've created a society. We got a whole society that expects us as women to give and to give and to give without acknowledging what we need.
Mm.
Mm.
So we've basically created a whole culture of self-neglect.
That's just rude.
So it's important to, I mean, that's in order to be free from that, it's important to recognize that you're working with this culture where we consistently subscribe to that notion that it's normal to be
Yeah.
the sacrificial offering, to be the martyr. And that's
Mm.
been passed down from generation to generation to
Mhm.
generation to generation.
Mhm.
Mm.
So that's why this keeps happening, right? So with that understanding, you in order to set those boundaries, you first have to recognize, okay, this is not my fault. This is how I've been conditioned.
Yeah.
Mm.
And so now I'm going to pivot and begin to see things through a different lens and move from what should I do, what I have to do, what I
Mm.
need to do. Anytime you start using those words, should, have, need, you're operating from this place of it's my duty, it's my obligation. So
Mhm.
once you start doing that, then you can pull yourself back a little bit and start asking a question. According to who? Who gets to decide? According to
Mhm.
who? Why do I have to do this? Why do I
Mhm.
need to do this?
So that then means
Good.
that in regards to for you, Felicia, that means that when I'm over 40 and I'm single and I'm going out, I'm not going out for a relationship. Let me just say this. I'm not going out for a relationship. I do not want to marry you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Y'all see me, y'all saw me
Yeah.
set up the boundary.
I saw that.
I'm pretty like right. Like we can go to the movies, we can hang out, we can get to know each other like
Mm-hmm.
that, but I'm not marrying you.
Right.
And
Okay.
I want to pigtail on
Well,
some.
hold on, but I got a question for you based on
Yeah.
what she said. So, based on what she said, is based on what Teresa said, is that the reason why when women go outside, right, and they're going out, and that dude on the corner does look at her,
Uh,
and he has ideas that she feels responsible for him having those ideas, and B, to making sure that his ideas are satisfied, even
and
though
you
she
see,
sacrifices herself. Is that
and
what?
I would, and listen, nobody has said a word. This is just all uh no, it's just all this internal chatter
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
about
That part.
expectations that nobody's even talked to anybody. Like,
He ain't even said nothing.
and,
He
but
might
what
have
you
been like,
see,
"That's a nice watch. My girlfriend would like it." Be like,
what's that statistic though? Is it 55% of nonverbal communication? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So nobody has said a word, but everybody's got this idea about what's supposed to happen in this environment, right? And so yes, because you've been conditioned that listen, when you meet somebody, you might, girl, what's my last name gonna be? He just said hi.
He just said hi.
You said,
He's just being
Hi.
nice.
And he
Just
can't,
some people are just being nice.
can
so
he be nice?
this ain't LinkedIn love. You meet me and try to sell me something. No, that's how they do
This
it.
is not that.
Oh,
And so absolutely, I think that is, where women need that support to be able to work through some of these, as Teresa mentioned, a culture that was a culture of what's been set up and passed
so
down.
So before we get to the next one in regards to how to be with yourself and not by yourself, before we get to that, then my first question for you is going to be how. So I'll tell you how I see boundaries and the benefit that it has to others, but then what I really want to know, because I can't tell people how to do this. My counselor, look, it was 4 years worth of counseling that I went through for her to help me. Like, that's a boundary. Good job. I was like, right? Like I got one. Like you did good. I would tell you the benefit that I see for boundaries, and I would say that it exists for, I would say, almost all the people around me, is that when I learned how to set up healthy boundaries, then people around me knew exactly where they stood. Like, here's the boundary, here's the line. You know whether you crossing the line or you're not crossing the line. You know where. So because now you're secure coming to me because you know where you stand, and I'm comfortable in my space because I know specifically the boundaries of my space, right? To me, it's like having that, North South Korea boundary. We need to know exactly where that line is. One of them line going over one of them gonna get you shot. Right. And so then you're comfortable on your side. That's where I've always seen, like, when I set up boundaries, why it's so positive, not only for me, but then it ends up being positive for the people around me because they know where they stand. Like all my clients, like, oh, y'all know, y'all know I love you, and y'all, like, my clients don't have no boundaries though. But everybody else, everybody else is fine. But they could have anything they want. But in general, having those boundaries, I can say for other, once I set them up, it seemed that other people were more clear about how far they could go.
Yeah.
Or they
And
went too far.
And I will also say, especially when you talk about over accommodating and being the go-to person all the time, right? When you set those boundaries up, you give other people the opportunity to access skills and gifts, right? And abilities that they didn't even know they had. When you keep being the person that does everything, you rob them. You rob them of seeing their brilliance.
That's good.
Of feeling that sense of pride. You know how you feel good when you solve something and accomplished it? You robbing them of that opportunity.
Now you just call me a thief. Got you. How are you, Felicia? What you got? I'm just translating for the people.
I just want to say that you are the one giving yourself the shade. So don't not come out of my mouth.
I'm just pointing out what I'm just translating for the people. How about you, Felicia?
So yeah, in the space that I work in, when we talk about those boundaries, and again thinking about how there are healthy boundaries and there are bad boundaries, and so but we for this we're gonna talk about stay with the healthy boundaries, but I believe that the healthy boundaries also allow you to set up for meaningful connections. Right. So as you have boundaries and those you meet are clear about what your expectations are. And let me tell you something, it ain't got to be a list of 110 things. You can make that clear pretty upfront in your conversation, your actions, right? So that as you're building and getting to know people, they know that you stand. Is that what they say today? Stand on business or something?
Stand on business.
Right. You are true to who you are, and you don't have to apologize for it.
Right. So you stand on boundaries.
You stand on boundaries.
Stand on boundaries. SOB. You're gonna be
right. SOB.
Okay.
No boundaries.
Who getting the t-shirt? Okay. All right.
So this is good though. So is there something that people, I know you said, you can write them down. So let's say we'll use dating, that you're going out. Is there something specifically that people can do to give themselves healthy boundaries? Is there something that they need to write down? Is there, like, I will not accept more than 5 drinks from an individual person, or just because he want to dance with me all night don't mean we're going to dance all night? I mean,
yes, I do think that you need to be whatever your method is, right?
Mhm.
You do need to write it out because you're not going to remember as you're out on the scene, right? So you need to write it out. And again, it doesn't need to be 110 things. What are the high value boundaries that are, I would call them even deal breakers in a way? But yeah, you need to write them out so you're clear on what they are and why you have them, because the
Mm.
motive behind the boundary is also important.
Because sometimes people have boundaries just because somebody else got them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they're
Like,
not
we don't,
really yours. You just cause and we'll
right.
talk about the advice later. But
Yeah.
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 So
Yeah.
be
Yeah. Yeah.
clear,
Yeah. Yeah.
write them
Yeah.
out.
Somebody else have boundaries and now they're suddenly yours.
Right.
Okay. So let's talk about how to be with yourself and not by yourself. I'm gonna jump in and give the story of what I did December 2022 because I was grown. So I was one of those people who was consistently by themselves, right? Not with myself, by myself. And one of the things that I struggle with, and it is still a struggle, is that people find me, take that back. Some men find me extremely intimidating. Pussies. Anyway, so some men find me extremely intimidating. And so they won't communicate with me, or they'll have everything going on and I think they're great, but then they're like, but you're really intimidating. And I hear that quite a bit. And then of course I've talked to my counselor and she's like, well, you have to ask yourself what you're bringing to that table. And I'm like, well, the table clearly. So anyway, so what I did in 2022 was I decided I was going to go on a cruise. I was going to take myself on a cruise, and not just any cruise. I'm going to take myself on a Virgin Voyage cruise where there are no children during the Christmas holidays. And I got to day 2, and I had set myself up to go to this really nice steakhouse that was on the ship that you had to have a reservation for and put on pretty clothes. And I knew I was going to be sitting by myself. So what I asked the maitre d' to do is to please sit me close to the window instead of in the middle of all the couples,
Oh.
close to the window, so I could so I can have something to look out the window. And so he didn't. He sat me smack dab in the middle of the couples. And then on top of it, made it where I was facing all the couples, which is even worse. And then did not bring me my water or anything because I overheard him behind me say, somebody asked him about bringing me water or something. He's like, well, she's waiting for a date. And he goes, no, she's here by herself. And he goes, why would she be here by herself? That is just so lonely.
Yeah.
And I cannot tell you, I literally walked out of that restaurant in full tears, like full tears. I walked out because I was like, as if I didn't feel it already, right?
Mhm.
Like I'm already struggling to get through this dinner that hasn't even started. And then he goes, that is so lonely and desperate. I was like, oh my God. And it was just like maybe he had said out loud everything that I was feeling.
Right.
And that was day 2. Look, that was day 2. Y'all, it
Mhm.
was 5-day cruise. It was day 2. Like my therapy session, I'll tell you how bad it was. I got on my therapy session, literally, I am in the ocean on a giant float. I'm like, listen, it's not working. It's not working. What you mean where I am? I'm in the ocean. Look. Like, I'm wearing a bathing suit. Like that was me.
Oh.
Like it's not working. So I was definitely, when you say be with yourself and not by yourself, I would say I was definitely by myself.
Yeah.
So what do you mean when you say be with yourself?
Yeah. I just truly wholeheartedly believe that you have to learn how to be with you before you can expect anybody else to be with you.
Mm,
And I believe words matter. So if I say that I am by myself, that leans more toward a lonely, right?
mm,
Or isolated
mm,
versus I am with me. And guess what? I am worth being with. Okay. So that terminology, when I shifted that, and my story real quick is I got divorced 10 years ago, and the first time I went to a movie by myself, and with myself, I was like, everybody was looking at me, they're watching me, they're like,
why
look
would
at
they
the
watch the
girl.
movie when you're there?
Oh, watching her. Look at her get her popcorn. Look at her get her drink. Look at, don't you see?
Was that a Coke or a Pepsi? I don't know.
I mean, I had all of this internal talk about being there with me, right? But the empowering thing is when I left that movie theater and I had done it, I was like, it's on, baby. I got this down and I'm going to do the next thing. So learning how to be with you, enjoy you, because you're worth enjoying.
Yeah. And I will tell you, before you jump in, Teresa, I will tell you that I did. Don't want y'all to think me like, and she had 3 more days on this cruise. Oh my God. By the time I was fine. I'm one of those people, if you're going to teach me how to skate or you're going to teach me how to ski, we're going to go on a double black diamond. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's start with the double black diamond and then go down. You know, like, let's do that, right? You're going to teach me how to skate? Let's start from the top of the hill and see where we at by the time we get to the bottom, right? So I was one of that person. I'm like, nah, if we're going to do this, let's do it. Let's go on the cruise. And so, yeah, the first 2 days was hard. But by the time I got to day 5, it was very different, right? Like I knew everybody on the cruise. Everybody on the cruise knew me. Like I was like, hey, what you doing? What you eating?
Yeah.
Come sit with me. Can I have some? Like it was a very
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you learn to enjoy your company.
And felt like everybody else should be able to enjoy it too.
Yeah.
Right. Of course. Of course they should, right? You know, we lose ourselves when we're constantly giving. So you forget you forget that person. You forget who you are.
Yeah.
You know, I had a client who didn't even know what she liked on pizza because when the family had pizza, she just got everything that they got. And so when she got to the place where she was like, you know what do I want? What do I like? I don't even really think I like pepperoni. No, it could be something.
I don't even know if I like pizza. Right?
I don't even know if I like pizza. Yeah, because you get so caught up in just becoming everything for other people and you lose who you are. So it's that rediscovering who you are. What do I really want? Not even what do I want. I asked the most powerful question that I learned from my mentor is, what would I love? And that's so hard to answer.
Yeah.
Like, what would I really love? And when you can begin to discover what would I love in every single area of your life, then that person becomes alive again.
Yeah.
And you know, I think one of the telltale signs, and even probably one of the activities that someone could do for themselves, is because I know I ran into this hard when I first started living alone, like ever. See, most people don't know this about me. I've only lived alone twice in my life. One when I was homeless, which meant my options were very limited. What do you like to eat? What you got? Right? Like that's what I like to eat, right? And then the other time was honestly almost 2 years ago. Was the first time I ever lived by myself. And so I'll tell you, one of the telltale signs was literally not knowing what to buy at the grocery store. I went to the grocery store. I'm like, I don't know if I want to cook that. I don't know if I don't know if I want that. And suddenly my diet completely changed because I realized it's going to sound crazy, but I was eating for everyone else.
No, exactly.
Like literally eating for everyone. Like I can't tell you the last time I ordered pizza because I'm like, turns out the only thing I really eat off of it is the cheese topping. I don't really enjoy it. Right. And so, but it was like, I got it, but I didn't enjoy it. And then my tastes were very different. Like I wasn't sitting down eating Chunky Monkey in front of Netflix all day, but it was my palate was very different from what I had been eating. I had literally been eating for everyone else.
Right.
And then but think about how fundamental that is. We're talking about food.
Right.
Yep.
Like I can't even tell you last time I went to like fast food. Because I don't really enjoy fast food. So I don't really enjoy fast food. It turns out I really do only like to eat 2 things. Is news to me, which is steak, obviously, and lobster. So that's it, right? Everything else, and a veggie tray. Like those are the things that I love: steak, lobster, veggie tray, and fruit. And here's the other thing I discovered about myself recently.
Hmm.
I don't like going out to dinner.
Hmm.
The number one thing that people do on dates, I want to take you out to dinner. I'm like, I don't actually enjoy it at all.
Mm.
The whole idea of sitting down across from someone and chewing is not enjoyable to me at all.
Right.
So, like, we're doing this whole thing. I'm actually done by the salad course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm.
Like, legit. So now we're sitting there for 2 hours and I'm forcing myself to eat something that I don't even want in the first place. I'm literally like, can you just put this in a box so I can take it home?
Mm-mm.
Uh-huh.
But I
It
think
impacts every single area of your life when you
It
really
does.
start diving into really what would I love? Like, who
Right.
am I? What do I want? You start to realize that I've been living for everybody else in every area of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think for me, the telltale sign was literally groceries. Of all things, it was
Mhm.
literally groceries.
Mhm.
And I think it hit me more recently because I had been traveling, and before I went traveling, I literally emptied out my refrigerator.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I didn't want anything to be spoiled. I was going to be gone for like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So I emptied out the refrigerator and cleaned the shelves. So when I tell you it was empty, it was empty.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I came back home, and I was like, my dog has more food in this house right now. Like,
Yep.
people be like, girl, you all right?
Mhm.
But it's just that my palate has changed so much
Right.
that
Yeah.
what I want is so limited. And again, I don't even enjoy going out to dinner. So
Mhm.
if I don't enjoy doing that, the whole concept of buying a bunch of food and putting it in the house is like, it's overwhelming to me and too much.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So,
Yeah.
okay. So that's so one of the telltale signs, we can talk about some things that people do. What are some of the telltale signs? I use groceries as one of the telltale signs. Like, if you're home for a week and no one's there, what are you eating?
Mm-hmm.
Is it what you normally eat? What else are some of the telltale signs for people to recognize that they might be by themselves but not with themselves?
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Food was the first one that I noticed for me.
Well, I'm thinking anytime that you are this is a perfect example of what you're describing. So what would you say if someone is wanting to take you out on a date and you're like, but I don't really enjoy dinner.
Yeah,
Right
for me it's
there,
activities.
would
Yeah.
you say no, or would you go on the date because they offered it and he just wants to take me to dinner, right?
I
And
don't know.
so that's a perfect example.
Yeah, I used to, but now I'm like, nah, I gotta tell you this one joke. So this guy wanted to go. It's a story. So he wanted to go out with me. He wanted to meet, first time meeting someone, right? And I definitely don't want to go and sit across from dinner with you for 3 hours if we don't meet for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely not. So y'all know I go hiking every day with Jackson. Jackson is my puppy Shiba Inu, and he's 11 months old. So he's only 22 pounds. So we go hiking every day for 3 to 5 miles. And I said, well, he doesn't live far from me. And I said, we can meet at Triple Creek. I usually go hiking every day, and I gave him these 3 times. And I said, would you like to go with me on one of those when I go? Because we were looking, and he was like, yeah, I'll go. I was like, cool. So we went, and I said, now, before he got there, I said, now listen, it's between 3 and 5 miles. Just letting you know.
Yeah.
Like, it's 3 to 5 miles, not up to, it is between, right? And so he's like, no, I'm cool. I was like, all right.
Okay.
So I got on the hiking clothes as you would wear going on a hike. And by the way, I'm in Florida. It's flat. So it's not like we doing
Hills.
nah, we might do different terrains.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, we got like a half mile in. And he was like, so how much longer is it?
Oh, see.
And I was like, now this is, I will say, I was being accommodating. I'm like, would you like to turn around and I can walk you back to your car? Because I'm still going to do my hike. I could do an extra half mile. It ain't going to kill me.
Right.
He's like, no, I'm good. I'm good. What is it here? How long is it going to take us? I'm like, about an hour, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hour. If we do like a 20-minute mile, we just stroll. He's like, okay, yeah, I'm good. An hour. I can walk an hour. It's like walking a mall. I'm like, I
It's a whole different ball
yo,
game when you're walking outside. It's like,
yo, let me
oh,
tell you something. It was 72 and beautiful, but let me tell you something. Every time it was a tree, every time we hit a tree, bro was like,
it's leaning against the tree.
Oh Lord. See,
"You do this every day? Every day you do this, huh?" I was
he ain't have no boundaries. He clearly didn't know.
like, he didn't have
He
boundaries.
didn't have his
He
boundaries
didn't have
set up.
I had boundaries. I was very clear. I'm gonna walk 3 to 5 miles. You want to go? He died. Like he was dying. Like then we got to a point. Like I was like, like the only way out is the way we came in. So it's not like we gonna cut off at the pass.
Mhm.
So yeah. So when you talk about things that I do that I enjoy,
Mhm.
I do find things that I enjoy. Not that I wouldn't go and do. Like somebody actually took me to the speakeasy where the food was unique, and I did enjoy that because it was unique food.
Right.
Okay.
Right. But if you like, I'm gonna take you out for steak. I'm like, I've had steak before. Right. You know.
No, like,
Mhm.
So yeah, I would say for me it's activities. If
yeah,
you
Mhm.
really want to meet me where I am, take me for an activity.
yes.
Let's go throw an axe. I throw it.
Right.
You want to throw an
Right.
axe, right?
But you need time. You need to know that. And
Yeah.
if you don't take the time to even know that, you can't ask that of somebody else. And I think that's what we wound up doing with people is that we expect that they would know, or well, you should know me by now, or
Right.
and no, you need to know so you can clearly communicate. Um, you know,
Yeah, like he needed to communicate my shoes nor my body is made for 3 to 4.
and then here's the deal: if don't nobody else go, let me tell you something. I love being with me, and so I'm gone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've mastered that part. Like going out and I will admit having a puppy helps, not gonna lie.
Right. Right.
I definitely leverage my puppy, but I have learned to go out without him guilt
Yeah,
free.
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Sometimes you don't know, right? But I always say start to pay attention to how you feel,
right.
Mm,
right? Because your body, your feelings, it will always tell you if you're doing something that you don't enjoy. I mean, that's one of the most powerful ways that we can tap in,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you start allowing yourself to give yourself permission to acknowledge that, I'm just doing this because everybody else is doing it because I feel obligated to do it. And you start acknowledging that feeling, that's the first step. That's
yeah,
the first step to the way through that, and starting to say, you know what? I really don't like this. I've been doing this all these years.
yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
What about? But sometimes I find so. Let's take that one step further because sometimes, like I might say, I really don't enjoy going to dinner, out to
Mm-hmm.
dinner, right? And the gentleman I was talking to specifically said, "Okay, but I hear you." He goes, "And I don't want to change your mind, but I do want to understand why."
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I've gone out to dinner with executives from Microsoft, Starbucks, whatever. I said, when you eating $1,000 Wagyu steak and it don't take any different from a $50 Wagyu steak, you realize steak is steak.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I do enjoy when the menu is unique and it's going to be a different taste experience. I
Mm-hmm.
said, but generally I don't find that. It's just we're gonna go to a steakhouse, or we're gonna go to Ruth's Chris. We're gonna go to Morton's. I'm like, it's a steak.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said, okay, so if it's a unique menu, you go. And I'm like, yeah. If it's a unique menu, I'm all in. He's like, oh, can I take you to a speakeasy? I was like, unique menu? He's like, yeah. I'm like, let's go. So it was finding that middle ground. He definitely wanted to go to dinner,
Mm-hmm.
but he also wanted to respect my boundary of not going to a boring dinner.
yeah,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I respected his boundary of wanting dinner. He respected my boundary of don't let it be boring.
mm-hmm.
Right. And then when when they bought out those smashed sweet potatoes with those candy bacon bits.
Mm-hmm. That sounds good.
Yeah, I was like, hey, boy, shoot.
At first you said mashed sweet potatoes, but then when you added the bacon bits,
Right.
I was like, okay.
That's what I'm saying. I've had mashed sweet potatoes before, but when they put on them candied bacon, I was, you know, hey, girl, come in with no. Don't take those away. He left some on his plate. Just put them right here. Taking leftovers back to the kitchen today. What's wrong with you? So that was cool. Or going to a place where they have like a unique tasting menu, right? So, but like you said, he bothered to ask me. I'm not trying to change your mind. I would just want to understand why. And I wasn't offended by like why. I was like, oh
Right.
yeah, I got a real reason why.
Yeah.
It wasn't just because I don't like to. It wasn't that, right? I had a reason, like, because I'll tell you why I find it boring.
Yeah.
But I think that's important in setting up those boundaries as well.
Right.
You think so? Like when you set up these boundaries, don't you think it's important to, not that I don't want to say you have to have a reason, but at least know your own internal reason on why.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Like
And
not
you may
boundaries,
not know
boundaries
it.
sake.
You may
Yes.
not know it right away.
Yeah.
You may not know it right away, but as you continue in that, it becomes clearer and clearer, right?
Yeah,
So, but you
yeah.
just have to be willing to take that risk, right? And put up those personal borders. You recognize, you know what? I don't enjoy this.
Right.
I'm going to go and seek something different.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to stick with that until I find the thing that I enjoy, and be willing to be persistent with that and holding those boundaries in place.
Right.
Good.
So you set a boundary. So the first thing is set a boundary. Second thing is understand why you have the boundary. And then have a willingness, at least I think, around the boundary if there's something, because I might say I don't enjoy diving with sharks because I'm terrified of fish. Right. And I can say that 1,000 times over. So you probably not gonna get me to go straight up in the water and be like, yeah, let's go. But if somebody's like, ooh, but check this out, I might go, well, let me see. Like, right? I still think I'm holding my boundary, but I also feel like I'm open to possibilities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So the last thing I'm going to ask you about is courage. Right? Because we've been talking about boundaries. We're talking about being with yourself and not by yourself. And then, of course, having the courage to set up these boundaries and hold these boundaries and recognize why you have them and understanding the freedom and power that comes along with them. But then you do need courage to set them up. Like it was hard for me, quite honestly, to say to the first person, I really don't like going out to dinner. Especially if you haven't gone out in like 875 days, right? Like,
Right.
somebody asks you out and you like, nah.
Yeah. But you can, yeah, you could be like, oh my God, I haven't been outside. Okay, let me go. Even though you hate it. Right.
Right. Yeah. The desperation of, there's something that I talk about called the desperation of loneliness. Right. And it's one of those things when you feel so lonely that you might be desperate for any type of companionship, affection, someone just to listen, that they'll be like, so you know what we're going to do? We're going to jump off the Empire State Building this weekend. We know it's illegal. You ever done base jumping before? And you're like, yeah, just because you want to go.
Right.
Right. So just because you want to be accepted by a group, because there is this thing, even when you are surrounded by a bunch of people, called the desperation of loneliness, where you finally found a group and you're like, what do I have to do to be down with the group? Oh, everybody wearing green, I guess I got to wear green too, kind of a thing. So so let's talk about some of the specific tactics, right? I mean, I want specific, like, what would you tell your clients to do to find that courage? Because of course we know confidence is evidence of courage in action. That's what it is, right? So what are some of the things that you would do to tell your people to have the courage? What actions can they take courageously so they can have more confidence? Because now I'll just tell someone, like, I'm not really interested in going to dinner unless it's a very unique menu, like, or a tasting menu, right? I can say that. I'm very comfortable with saying, hey, people all the time is like, oh, I want to take you there, but you don't drink and I get bottle service. I'm like, okay, maybe that's the thing. I don't care. Right. So now I'm very comfortable saying that.
Mhm.
What courageous, but it took courage.
Mhm.
Like I
Mhm.
said, I went on a whole cruise. What actions can you do you suggest your clients do to get started in the right direction?
Yeah. Well, we go back to what I said in the beginning, really understanding that it's about the conditioning, right? So the things that you do, it's because of that voice that you hear, because of that conditioning. Recognizing that, the first thing you can do is you can start to begin to interpret your your interactions differently. And when you feel that resistance to over accommodate, to not care for yourself, to not hold your boundary in place, you can talk to yourself. First of all, you can just, I tell my clients to just put their hand on
Mm.
their heart, because most of the time, you know, your heart is beating real fast. Your adrenaline is going, you're going against what you've always done. And so just first of all, just be still. Just take a pause,
Mhm.
because it takes 90 seconds. And this is a fact. It takes 90 seconds for your emotions to go through a loop.
Hmm.
After 90 seconds, if it's still there, you're holding it with your thoughts.
Mm.
Mm.
So wait, just pause. Tell them to pause just for 90 seconds and just wait. Allow it to cycle through. Take a deep breath. Just breathe and tell yourself, I got you.
Mm.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. And you can tell, you can tell yourself, you can tell those thoughts that are coming to you, because really the fear that's coming is only trying to protect you. So you can tell yourself, thank you. Thank you for sharing this. I know you're trying to protect me, and I appreciate that. It's okay. But this is something that I want to do for me. And we're going to discover who I am. Whatever way that feels comfortable with you. But the key thing is to stop, to pause, and allow that feeling to cycle through, understanding that it's just trying to protect you. Thank you for sharing. And
Mm.
then create a different dialogue for yourself.
Gotcha.
That's good.
Hmm.
That is excellent. Um, I would say when we talk about courage and we talk about reclaiming your social life, the steps that you want to think about are: I want you to write down 5 things that you have lost contact with, right? Or things that you wanted to do. You said you were going to go to Cuba. Whatever it is, and it can be small, or it could be, let's take some baby steps. Let me go back. Let's take some baby steps, because you ain't been outside. We don't want to go to Cuba yet. But let's take some baby steps. You said you wanted to go to a bookstore by yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I want you to write down those top 5 things. And then I want you to pick the one that you're like, I think I can do this one. We're starting with some positive, right, thinking. And then I want you to look at your calendar, because your calendar's busy. I know me, I live by my calendar. It
Mm.
ain't on my calendar, it's probably not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I want you to get your calendar out. Pick a day and a time. You can pick a
Mm-hmm.
weekend, you can pick a weekday, whatever is most, comfortable for you. Pick that date and that time. And then I want you an accountability step. Your tribe or your girlfriend that you can call, and she be like, girl, no, that girlfriend. You're going to call her and let her know that, girl, I
Mhm.
have chosen that I'm going to the bookstore, Barnes and Noble, whoever. I'm going for an hour. I'm just going to go sit amongst the books that I've been wanting to read. I just want to check some stuff out, right? And then I want you to let her know that that's what you are doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I want you to go and do it. And then call her and let her know that you actually did do it with yourself. You went to the bookstore with you.
Mhm.
I
So take
also,
yourself out on a date.
Absolutely. And
A
it could be a
short
dinner
1 hour
date.
date, coffee date, get to know you.
Absolutely. And it is totally okay. We need to get out of this mode of kind of what you experienced of, well, if I'm with me, if I'm sitting here, there must be somebody else coming. No, ain't nobody else coming.
Mm-hmm.
It's me.
Yeah.
It's me with
Right.
me.
Right. Yeah.
Me with me.
And it's okay.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really work with women to teach them how to learn that, because again, we don't get taught or shown how to do those things.
Right.
You know, it's funny that you say that because so I just want everyone to know I did go on a second Virgin voyage by myself.
Yeah.
And and I went to that same steakhouse.
And you talk to
I
that
did
waiter.
because when I told them, well, when I got there, I said, I just want you all to know that the greatest person on the planet is going on a date with me. And I'm so excited. You cannot miss her when she walks in. They're like, who? I'm like, you looking at her. So I'm here by myself. Like, don't come in here asking no extra strange questions. I'm going on a date with the
Hey.
greatest woman on this ship. You're welcome for my
Yes.
presence.
Yeah.
You'll have a blast.
That's good. You know, it's so good you said that, because another thing that's important to do is to have fun in this process.
Yes.
Right? Don't make it so
Mhm.
serious and so intense. You know, as high achievers, we're so afraid of
That's good.
failing and, have
Yes.
perfectionism. But it's important just to have fun with it,
Yeah.
and make up stories like that and just enjoy yourself in that process.
Yep. Very
That's
good.
important.
Yeah, yeah, like, I literally had to go, "No, I'm going and doing this I'm taking
Mhm.
myself on a date," right? And that was the thing I had to learn to do, and it's funny that you say so before I got Jackson, so back in, because I only got him, 6, 7 months ago. I got him when he's 4 months old, he's
Mhm.
11 months now, right? And so when I first got down here to Florida, one of the things that I did was I would go hiking like every day. There was this one place that I went to, and I mean, I would do 5, 7, 10 miles before I
Mhm.
started my day, like every day. And then I moved from the Orlando side to the Tampa side of Florida, right? So from the East Coast to the West Coast of Florida. And I said, "Oh, I can't go hiking here because, first of all, I'm 90 minutes, 2 hours
Right.
away from the trail I used to go on, right? So they don't have the same trail, and they don't have the same this, and they don't have the same that, right? So I had
Mhm.
stopped doing that thing that I enjoyed so much, was just going outside hiking. So then, funnily, so my long story short, I ended up getting a dog, right? And this isn't my first dog, right? But this is my this is the first time I'm having a
Mm.
dog by myself. There are no
Yep.
other people.
Mm.
It is just me and him. And so one of the things that I said was, I looked at him one day, I'm like, well, guess I'll take your ass outside. Right. So, and I have a yard and everything, but I mean, obviously you need to
Right.
walk them, you want to. So I started walking in the neighborhood and I hated
Right.
walking in the neighborhood. So I'm like, this is the funny thing. I go and I look up trails in the area. Girl, there's like
Around the
35
corner.
know
trails
about
like
it.
within 15 minutes, right?
Mhm.
Right. So what I had before was quite honestly
Right.
an
Mhm.
excuse.
Mm.
And now I
Mhm.
had a reason. Right. So before I had an excuse, I had every excuse in the world not to go hiking for the 18 months that I lived here. Then I got here and then I had a reason to go. And then I'm like, oh, now I'm going to go. And now I'm like, oh my God, there's so many trails. Which one we go on today? Right. Like, and I have this stupid little thing that I do where I have all these cards. I'm like, which one you want to go on? He pick one. I'm like, that's where we going today. And so, but it's so crazy because, yeah, I did have to learn how to go out on a date
Yeah.
with myself. Jackson has been a
Mhm.
great excuse, but now I go out
Mhm.
without him
Mhm.
to
Right.
places all the time, which he doesn't like it, but I'm fine with it. But I go out to places without
Right.
him all the time. But it really was one of those things where when I came over here, I couldn't figure out how to go outside because
Right.
nothing was
Yeah.
close enough. Then I look, it's like,
Everything
no,
is right.
everything
Yeah.
is right around the
And
corner.
that's the thing that happens too. Jackson was the catalyst to get you out, right? And now it has impacted
Mm-hmm.
all the different areas of your
Mhm.
life, right? And
Mhm.
that's what happens. Like if we just start to focus and take that one step, take that courage,
Yeah.
take
One
that one
baby
baby
step.
step, is that ripple effect, and it impacts every single aspect of your life. It impacts the other people or your relationships. It impacts everything.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. And that's the thing. It's taking that one. It doesn't have to be crazy. You do not have to go get dressed up and go to the Edition every
Yeah.
day and
No.
have
Yeah.
happy hour. You can literally just, like, for me, so the funny thing was, like, somebody, I think it was actually Felicia, asked, well, do you go out? And I'm like, yeah, I go out all the time. I go for a hike every day. She's like, really? I'm like, yeah, I take Jackson. She's like, oh, so is it a nice trail and a lot of people? I'm like, oh no, it's never body there. No, absolutely not. She's like, okay. So maybe we could go where there are people. Maybe we can take the next step. I'm like, oh, you go outside
People.
and see people. Oh, girl, y'all gotta be specific, right?
Yes.
But the thing is, the fact that I went out by myself meant that now she has something that she could say, okay, now you figured out how to do that. What if you go outside
Yeah.
and there are
Mhm.
people there too?
Yeah. One
Give
step
that
at
a
a
shot,
time.
you know?
Yeah.
One step at a time. And you know what? It'll be
Yeah.
messy.
Yes.
It'll be messy, but embrace the messy.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Oh my
Oh
gosh.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It was definitely messy the first time because I was like, hey, we're gonna get lost on this trail. Florida has the worst marked trails in the world. Our trails are meant to kill people. Listen.
But we out here.
They are. They are. But listen, at the end of the day, the people you're watching this and you're a badass high achiever. You know you're getting it done. And you also know if you're sitting there and you're being honest with yourself, you're probably having those moments where you feel guilty because you didn't do something, or you feel like, dang, I want to go out, but and life is passing you by because you're telling yourself, I can't find anything to do, or everything there is to do, I have to do it with other people. And the have to do it with other people, that's just another fake boundary that you're setting up instead of a real one that you actually need. That would be more of a bad boundary than a good boundary, right? And so we know boundaries are critical. We know that you want to learn how to be with yourself so you don't feel so alone when you're by yourself. And that, of course, you need courage to take action because confidence is the evidence of courage in action. Now, we recognize this, but even with this, people are still going to feel guilty, like they can't do it. Is it their fault that they feel this way?
You want to go first, Teresa? Look, we tap in on this one because it's not your fault. Like, so for the women that I work with, it's not your fault because you were in a long-term relationship. You got in that relationship when you were 19, 20 years old. Now you're in your early 40s, right? You haven't been out. So, and we weren't necessarily taught how to date or how to get ready to date, right? And so we find ourselves in relationships and then they end when we're beyond 40 and we're like, now what? So no, it's not your fault. Not your fault.
It's not your fault. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's become so ingrained in our psyche. And it's what do you call that? Entwined in religious doctrines that we don't recognize oftentimes the damage that this has on your emotional well-being. But and so it's just the norm of how women are viewed. If we dare say no and we don't come when we're needed, then what are we? We're selfish. We're bad.
Right.
We're neglectful. Right? So it's not your fault because our needs have been deliberately silenced for generations. And so you haven't, Felicia was talking about haven't been taught. We haven't been taught how to even have that emotional language to say what we need. We haven't been taught how to ask ourselves the questions about what we would love, how we would feel. And so it's not your fault.
Yeah. And I know how people feel when they feel that guilt, right? Because I've felt that guilt myself, like, oh my God, if I can't do XYZ, if I can't put on my super suit and swoop in and save the world, then the world is gonna go to hell, right? Like, then I went and checked and there was literally not an S on their chest, on my chest at all. I have felt that way. And I know, I've had to do work in order not to have
Right.
that feeling,
Yeah.
you know?
You had to do, but you had to take action in
I had
order
to take
to,
action.
right,
Yes.
to eliminate and work through, not being in that space.
Yeah, you had
Yeah.
to have the courage. You had to have
Yeah.
the courage to do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. So, what are some of the beliefs that still, after people hear this, like, she's sitting there, talk to that woman who's sitting there right now that says, yeah, I hear you,
Hmm.
but
Mm, mm.
what are some of the beliefs that she still has, that she's still struggling with? But my family needs me. But, if I don't do it, nobody else will. How, what do you say to them?
That is just it's tough to hear. I mean, sometimes when you just hearing how it's said is just like wow. um and so for the women that I work with, I know that they still struggle with, like, there's this expectation that you preparing to date.
Or, well, let's talk about yours. If I go out
Yeah.
on a date with him and I don't want to get
Ye-
married, right? And I don't want to have a long-term relationship, then I'm just
yeah.
leading him on.
Well, first of all, everybody's gonna call and see how it went, because everybody want to know, like, girl, what happened? Girl, did he you right?
Right?
And so you again, you have this belief, this is not going to work for me, because see, if I go out here and I do go on a date, I got to come back with some kind of juicy juice. I got to come back with something. Either he asked me out again, or right,
Right.
or was he talking about marriage? And so there's again this weight of some expectation that has to happen. So you feel like, this may not work for me, because I may fall trapped to accommodating what everybody believes should have happened when I got out and just meeting new
Right.
people.
Mhm.
Right. But they don't have to, obviously, they don't have to, you
You
can
can
go
go,
out and just have
yes,
fun.
absolutely. But you but that takes learning how to do that.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. I,
How
yeah,
about you, Teresa?
I
How
would
about those
say,
beliefs?
I would say to the woman that your well-being matters, period.
Mm.
And your existence is the proof of that. And so when you feel yourself out of sorts, exhausted, overwhelmed, stressed, obligated, when you feel that, that's your cue that something is not working. And it's
Mm.
irreverent for you not to pay attention to that and to come into alignment with the joy and the pleasure and the fulfillment that you have been given as a gift. So you can give yourself permission to cherish who you are, and that means self-care, self-love, self-acceptance, self-compassion. Self, it starts with you. Love yourself first before you start loving everybody.
Mm.
That was excellent. I think that's what we're going to close with. And just as a reminder, if you want to meet with Felicia and talk a little bit, you out here in Beyonce's internet streets, you done downloaded every dating app in the world, but you have not picked yourself. You have not swiped right on yourself. So the first thing you need to do is talk to Felicia and figure out, like, how do I go out first with me?
Yeah.
And then figure out how to go out and have fun and flirt and not try to, set up a whole future from somebody saying hi. Right? Like, girl, he just said hi, calm down. Right? Stop texting people. That's just embarrassing at this point. Back away from the cell phone. Jesus. Right? Like, right. So have that conversation, and then, slide into DMs, ask some questions. You have, a short amount of time to do it. So slide in her DMs, ask some questions, see if she got a cheat sheet. Not saying she does, but maybe. And then, of course, if you want to talk with Mrs. Teresa Noy, if you want to talk with T, make sure you hit her up on meetwithtnoy.com. And again, have that conversation with her, slide into our DMs, especially if you're sitting there and you haven't figured out how to do the things that we talked about the most. First of all, have the courage to take yourself out on a date. Then once you take yourself out on that date, be good with yourself and not just by yourself. You know what I mean? It's not about being by yourself, it's about being good with yourself.
Mhm.
And then of course, you want to make sure that you have done a great job in setting up those boundaries. So when that creepy guy come and he look at you like that, and he like, hey girl, hey, and all that other stuff, and you're not really interested, you have enough boundaries to say, while you are a lovely gentleman, I am really enjoying this date with the most wonderful person in the planet, and that's me. And feel good about saying it.
Mhm.
Not feel guilty that you said that. It's
Mhm.
okay for you to say, no. That's all we have. Don't forget, slide into their DMs because they are amazing women and human beings. And of course, my name is Donna St. Louis of firesavvy.net. And if you want anything in regards to building your business, accelerating your revenue, making a hell of a lot more money doing what you do, bartering your brilliance, hit me up again. You can slide into my DMs as well. And we are firesavvy.net. Go in there, click the button on our beautiful, newly branded website.
Love it.
It's just gorgeous. I'm just saying it is nice though. Anyway, that's all we have. Thank you so much.
Put your love, put your love, put your love glasses on, put your love, put your love, put your love glasses on. I see you looking.